What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel, to all of my returning subscribers. But if this is your first time here today, welcome. Here we use information from celestial bodies to help us gain a better understanding of our favorite celebrities, world events, but most importantly, our damn selves. So come on in, have a seat, get comfortable and whatnot. And while you at it, if you're interested in booking a Synastry or natal chart reading of your own, feel free to contact me at astrowerld, astrowerld@gmail.com, and we can go ahead and get you on the calendar today. All right. But today I'm coming to y'all with another celebrity Synastry reading, this time on P. Diddy, aka Brother Love, and Cassie. So just in case you've been hiding under a rock, Cassie, the underwhelming singer, recording artist of the early 2000s, basically filed a lawsuit against Diddy. It was a civil lawsuit, and accused him of all kinds of things, from abuse to trafficking, if you get what I'm saying, grape juice, just a bunch of different stuff. Reading between the lines, feel free to go, look it up yourself. The court documents are public, and honestly, a lot of the things that she shared were very gruesome. The details are very unsettling. A lot of people were disturbed, and Diddy went on to settle for an undisclosed amount. People are speculating that it's upwards of 30 million, over 30 million, but he went ahead and settled literally less than 24 hours later. And but here we are. So the court of public opinion, he's been exposed. Although I've been talking about Diddy for a long time, okay? I've been seeing through the brother love shit. He's a dark-sided Scorpio through and through. However, today we want to talk about the Synastry between Diddy and Cassie. And I want to, make some observations in regards to their Synastry, just to see the ways in which it does align and support a lot of the accusations and the details that she disclosed in her lawsuit, okay? And to overall get a understanding of the dynamics of their relationship. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. On one hand, you have Cassie, who was born on August 26, 1986 in New London, Connecticut. And then on the other hand, we have P. Diddy, born November 4th, 1969. And I believe it's Harlem, New York, but even New York, the results are the same. But feel free to, check me in the comment section if you see that he's born somewhere else outside of Harlem or even New York. Okay. But even with that being considered, a couple of things can actually be deduced from their Synastry. So one of the biggest observations that I made was the fact that, if you want to be technical, Cassie's Virgo sun is forming a conjunction to Diddy's Virgo moon. Now, Cassie has her sun at the 3rd degree of Virgo, and there's something very critically important to understand when it comes to Virgo women. Because Virgo is the sign of service, in many instances, it's actually not uncommon for Virgo women to find men who either A, are in need of their help, or B, men who can play a very instrumental role in helping them or assisting them in some way. And with Virgo also being the ruler of the 6th house, the 6th house being associated with work, more so from the standpoint of like your day-to-day task and obligations and duties at work. These are people where, like, falling in love with a coworker or something like that could be highly probable, just because you see these people every day, right? Virgo 6th house deals with routine. Once again, the things that we do, the habits that we have, right? Working with someone, alongside someone, day to day, day in, day out. And then ultimately potentially even falling in love that way or gravitating towards your next love interest is very archetypical of the female Virgo experience. Virgo is also the sign of grooming. And when you understand the manifestation of the sixth house, which once again, if we're relating it to like a job standpoint, training, all of the things that come with being hands-on, and once again, the day-to-day task of dealing with the people that maybe you work with, like your coworkers, or even, a boss or someone of that sort. You're being constantly groomed. You're being trained. You're being prepped, right? And so tying it to Cassie and Diddy's situation, Cassie actually, in the beginning of her career, after she met Diddy, signed to Bad Boy Records. And I think the way that the story goes, she worked under him, and, Diddy kind of assumed this position where he was once again in control of a lot of the more important parts of her career. And it's also important to note that Diddy has that Virgo South Node in addition to that Virgo Moon, which naturally on a karmic level makes him someone who could be very controlling. And one of the main ways in which this controlling nature could manifest or express itself is through the way in which he handles his subordinates and employees, right? Especially since, the situation has come to light. You have so many other people and so many different clips and videos circulating the internet where people are talking about the way that Diddy has treated the people who have worked for them, or worked for him, I should say. Even when you think about Making the Band, some of the shows that were created, and, what people knew of him back in the early 2000s, making people, audition in weird kind of like circumstances, making them walk, blocks and blocks upon blocks to buy him cheesecake. All of that is very like dark natured Virgo energy. And so with Cassie being a Virgo sun, technically, we could say this is a sun-south node relationship. And if you are familiar with me and my channel, you know that I advocate against sun-south node relationships simply because the sun person tends to bring out the worst traits in the south node individual, right? So I'm not saying that Cassie is responsible for Diddy's behavior, but what I am saying is that her presence in his life definitely allowed him to really lean into that dark-sided Virgo South Node programming, which is being very controlling, hypercritical, someone who's hardly ever satisfied. Now, on the other note, especially with Diddy's moon, Virgo moon, conjoining Cassie's sun, this could deal with him taking care of her, him thinking like he's helping her, because once again, Virgo is the sign of service, is the sign of help. So he may have approached a relationship from the disposition of, she's somebody that I can help out, or even him being drawn towards women who he feels, he can kind of fix up or take on as like a sort of project. Really, a lot of it does boil back down to control and a need for control, but it can still be used or, served up under the guise of just being caring. And, I just want to help you. I want to, help save you. Right. Also, Virgo is the sign of internships and apprenticeships. So this ties back into Cassie's association with Diddy in terms of her even working for him, being signed to him, working under him. Okay. Also, this could deal with what Cassie looks for in a man is very similar to what Diddy looks for in women. A lot of Virgo women look to their men to train them, to groom them, to guide them. Not all, But, particularly, situations like this, once again, if you're dated within the workplace, or, if you're dating a man who has more than you. Another really good example of this archetypically would be Beyonce. You know what I'm saying? No tea, no shade to the Beehive, but no matter how much I want to admit it or don't want to admit it, her admitting that Jay-Z taught her how to be a woman, her getting with Jay-Z at in her later teenage years while he was into his 30s, it's grooming vibes. You know what I'm saying? These are women who can be programmed. They're very programmable. Virgo is a receptive sign in nature. Okay. So, these are women who can be very submissive, very malleable and programmable. And so once again, with Cassie having her sun in Virgo and Diddy having his South Node and Moon in Virgo, and I think he has Pluto in Virgo too, conjoined to that South Node. Basically, she was a trigger. She served as a trigger. Not her fault. It just played out that way. They had no business being together. Okay. And if they were going to be around each other with Synastry like this, the dynamic was bound to take place the way that it did. This could also even point to where Diddy's Virgo stronghold really just absorbed her entire life, to the point where he could have spent an immense or an extensive amount of time putting her through training, which is something that he did to pretty much everybody who worked for him or under him or around him. Once again, taking it back to Making the Band, the episodes where he would make people do, ridiculous challenges and things like that, but also picking her apart, okay, about every little thing that is, from her career, pinpointing her insecurities, using them against her, even when it comes down to weight. Virgo is the sign of diet and exercise. So I wouldn't even be surprised if Diddy was one of those type of men who liked his women to look a certain type of way. So if, she put on too much weight, he would have a chef, which Virgo is one of the lesser known signs of cooking. Okay. The more popularized signs of cooking and food would be obviously Cancer and Taurus. But Virgo, from a standpoint of meal prep, look at Virgo as meal prep, right? So him hiring chefs and other people to cater for her and meal prep, and even hiring a trainer, specifically the trainer that Cassie ended up marrying. All of this is very Virgo energy. Okay. So even with Cassie being a Virgo sun, another way that Virgo sun expressed itself was her eventually getting with the personal trainer. Now, because the moon deals with the home, once again, Diddy's Virgo moon conjoined to Cassie's sun deals with her, meeting the trainer, him bringing the trainer in-house. I mean, it could be to her house or his house or whatever the case may be. So yeah, with this configuration, Diddy pretty much had a vice grip on every inch of Cassie and everything that had anything to do with her, pretty much, including her breasts. Follow me here, because the moon also deals with the breasts, right? And I saw where, I can't remember where, y'all, but let me know in the comment section. Feel free to let me know if you know what I'm talking about, where somebody was saying that he didn't like her breasts, made her go get breast augmentation. I think she got implants, which, even though I've never had any type of procedure done on my breast, I can only imagine it's painful as hell, okay? And when it was completed, he did not like the results of the breast augmentation. So he actually had the plastic surgeon go back in, okay? And this could have been days or weeks after Cassie had her original surgery, and go back in and cut her open again. Probably hadn't even healed all the way. But he said, bitch, I don't like your titties. Go get them shits done over again. Torture. Absolute torture. And that comes from that Virgo moon, specifically due to just how hypercritical Virgo is, and just how picky, right, Virgo is. You could look at that Virgo moon and Diddy's South Node in Virgo and that Pluto in Virgo, all of that working in tandem just to create a person who is just very, they're very selective and particular right, about certain things, or very anal retentive about certain things. This is why they actually make horrible people to work for. And I discussed this in the original natal chart reader that I did for P. Diddy. You out your fucking mind if you think I would go anywhere near P. Diddy for employment. You know what I'm saying? Besides the fact that he's a soul-sucking, vampire, dark-sided Scorpio who just discards people he can't exploit anymore. That Virgo South Node energy, you know, once again, these could be horrible bosses, horrible people to work for, power trips, micromanagers. And like I said, he took all of that energy and pretty much applied it to Cassie. There was really no escaping with her, you know, because he was her work life and he was also her home life. So that had to suck big time. Cassie's conjunction to Diddy's moon could also be symbolic of her having to walk on eggshells around him, and that sort of situation where at any point he could nag her or create problems, create issues, and we're just, once again, he was just hardly ever satisfied. And where at some point, you know, he could have definitely made her feel bad about herself, magnified and amplified a lot of the insecurities that she had about herself. And honestly, because this is a conjunction, it could have gone in the other direction, okay? Being a Virgo moon himself, Diddy, I'm pretty sure, has a lot of insecurities. And that's the only reason why you have a lot of people with that loaded Virgo energy, South Node, the moon, you know, why they could be really hard on other people. Same with Virgo sons to an extent, because 9 times out of 10, these are people who are very, very hard on themselves. And with the moon in Virgo, it's even worse because the moon is such a personal planet. You know, a person can really internalize and on a deep subconscious level really become consumed with a lot of like their insecurities and things like that. And Diddy just so happens to project them onto the women that he's with, unfortunately. And for what it's worth, the moon does mirror, it mimics, it reflects. Okay, so this could be him reflecting Cassie's insecurities back to her, but once again, it could occur vice versa as well. Now, Cassie has her Sun squaring Saturn at the 3rd degree of Sagittarius, which reinforces her dealing with domineering and controlling men, specifically when we bring that Saturn and Sagittarius into the equation, right? The square that it's forming to her Sun could easily produce situations where she's dealing with men, and although these could be men that are very helpful and beneficial to her, there's a trade-off here that tends to happen where it tends to cost her freedom. Her involvement with these men costs her freedom. So applying this to Diddy, right, where he had her on a very short leash, right, where she couldn't travel, you know, without him or something like that. And honestly, too, if you want to be for real, this could even be a pimped out aspect. They share several of those type of aspects within their charts, their own natal charts, and even Synastry wise, that could definitely lend some type of credence to the allegation of him trafficking her. Okay. So this Sun square Saturn in Sagittarius aspect in Cassie's chart could definitely deal with, like, you know, Diddy taking her out the country, or, you know, taking her different places in, like, but for work, right? Exploiting her and requiring her to, you know, get up and go and serve other, you know, powerful men. It doesn't help that Cassie also has her Mars and Capricorn. So something that I thought was really interesting between the two of them, Diddy and Cassie both share that Venus square Mars aspect. Both have Mars in Capricorn and both have Venus in Libra. And if we want to take it a step further in terms of connecting it all together, Cassie has her Venus in Libra conjoined to her South Node. Okay. And this actually quite literally points to where, you know, she has a lot of karmic debt tied to not really being her own person. Okay. These are people who have a hard time standing up for themselves, hence that Aries North Node. So one of the greater challenges that they face is standing on their own too, taking up for themselves, protecting themselves, defending themselves. And this could even correlate into a physical standpoint. Okay, Aries is a sign of violence. It's violent. It can be violent, hands down. So you could look at this opposition between Cassie's Venus and her Aries North Node as the brutal beatings, in tandem with both of them having this Venus square Mars aspect between the two of them. Okay. Venus square Mars in a man's chart can often point to where there could be a certain level of hatred towards women. Now, you do see this in the charts of men where their sexuality could absolutely be called into question. And with Diddy, it's no different. Diddy has his Mars at the 29th degree of Capricorn, the 29th degree, aka the Anoretic degree, aka the Crises degree. A Capricorn, essentially deals with where there is something about his sexuality that he's working really hard to conceal. And if we're talking about Mars and Capricorn, a lot of times it's going to be due to his reputation or saving face. So I'll let y'all put that together the way y'all want to put that together. Okay. Some other manifestations of P. Diddy having his Mars at the 29th degree of Capricorn would be him being an extreme capitalist, moving the heavens and the earth for money, having this me or you fatalistic approach with business, which is why he's known to be such a shrewd businessman, issues with women, beating up women, having an explosive temper, and a person who can swing from one extreme to the other in terms of, in one moment, practicing an incredible amount of self-control, and then the next minute flipping his shit. And, everything from assaulting women to, just having a very dysfunctional relationship, even with his mother's children. His children's mother, Cassie, all of that is encompassed with that Mars at the 29th degree of Capricorn. And the fact that it's squaring his Venus in Libra could make him very brutal, where he intentionally could even prey on women who are a lot more passive. Venus in Libra is a lot more passive and accommodating. And mind you, with Cassie having that Venus Libra South Node conjunction, this is just her default mode of operation, right? And where he could kind of take that energy and exploit it. That's very Mars at the 29th degree of Capricorn. A lot of men with Mars and Capricorn could also go for younger women. And once again, very similar to Virgo, this is going to tie back into a desire to control. Okay, the 29th degree, especially attached to Mars and Capricorn, is very extreme. It's authoritarian or totalitarian, where he could, try to be somebody's daddy. And when you consider the fact that Cassie has Sun square Saturn, that could also deal with her being with a man who want to act like her daddy, right? Then with her having that Mars and Capricorn herself, attracting older men, okay? Men who she can benefit from and come up on. Now, on a more positive note, though, her Mars is forming a sextile to P. Diddy's Scorpio Sun. Now, that's even despite the brutality of it all, right? Him dominating her, beating her, even raping her. That's very Mars at the 29th degree of Capricorn, by the way, because with people that share this placement, not all, but in a lot of situations, it could breed a desire to punish a person and punish them sexually, right? So a way that this could express itself is a person who could withhold sex from their partner because they're mad, or engage in a type of sex that their partner doesn't like, or that's unwanted, being very harsh, very rough, or even just forcing himself or themselves. Mars deals with force and aggression. So at the 29th degree of Capricorn, this could be brutal. So it really does align with everything she says. And then when you take that in tandem with, the Venus square Mars she has in her chart, it just reinforces that she really didn't stand a chance. Diddy wore the pants in that relationship, steamrolled smooth, clean over her. And people wonder why she stayed around so long, because she was struggling and really lingering in a lot of her Venus Libra South Node energy, right? Feeling like maybe she needed other people needed him, or, you know, where he was the stand and go between guy for a lot of the things that she needed or she felt she needed, right, for herself. But in actuality, as an Aries North node, in this lifetime, she's supposed to learn how to be more independent and make a name for herself on her own, even if that means, you know, going against certain partnerships or maybe even deciding to be single for a minute. You know what I'm saying? So her jumping into this marriage with this new dude, that's a different video for a different day. Different video for a different day. But nonetheless, her son, or Diddy's son, in Scorpio sextiling Cassie's Mars and Capricorn could have definitely paid off in terms of her benefiting from his presence professionally, her coming up in status, access, and things like that, or just becoming a household name, having access to certain opportunities. Now, this Venus Libra South Node conjunction also played out in the form of Cassie suing Diddy, and it's no surprise that this happened, no coincidence that all of this came into fruition as she approached her lunar nodal return. Transiting South Node is in Libra, okay? So karmically, this was very karmically induced, right? Very fated, okay, where it was gonna play out that way either way. But I will say she needs to be careful, because once again, with Aries on the North Node like that, she can make herself a target, you know what I'm saying, being a target for violence, for attack. And you know, a lot of people have been questioning Cassie's safety, because we all know, you know, Diddy has some ways about himself. You know, Scorpio is the sign of death, shady dealings and things of that nature. So and even honestly, with Mars at the 29th degree like that, he wouldn't be above you know, killing a woman, honestly. Now, you could also look at his Mars at the 29th degree of Capricorn, squaring his Venus as him breaking Kim Porter's nose. But that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there. Mars deals with the face. Capricorn deals with your bones. So that could be like breaking your nose, you know, hitting women, him being very brutal. But synastry-wise, between Diddy and Cassie, another aspect that really was concerning and that stood out was the fact that Diddy has his Chiron and Aries squaring Cassie's Neptune. And I think this is the strongest aspect that they shared, or one of the strongest aspects that they share between one another, or because it's the tightest orb. And it just shows that Cassie really didn't have a strong say-so, like where her willpower was completely diminished within that relationship. You know, you could look at that Chiron in Aries as a reinforcer of him being just very violent, but also just very indignant and, you know, like coming into her life and violating her and taking over. You know, Neptune also deals with shame, humiliation, and even, you know, sex trafficking. She has Neptune in Capricorn, where she could even have been exploited, once again, sexually. Neptune also deals with porn. You know, it deals with, you know, her having those tapes and things like that made of her, where she really could have been like a whole sex slave in these streets, you know. But it's so much I can get into. I'm gonna go ahead and stop right here. Let me know if y'all want a part 2, you know, going over some more of their share aspects together. And yeah, let me know what y'all think in the comment section. I will holla at y'all later. Take care of yourself. Be safe. Love you. Bye.